and create a whole file actually that will be called hof.js. Okay. Again, the age-old question: what is function? How can we define a function, people? What's a function and how can I define a function? Right? Right. So basically, functions are block of code, tick, which can be executed at our command. Correct. Correct. Reusable block of code. Right. Now, where have we created functions so far? कहाँ functions बनाए हैं? Like we know that we can create functions by doing a function, and in here we can name the function, and in here we can provide this, we can write a return statement, and we can provide parameters in here, and out there we can just call this function with arguments, right? That's all sorted. Any other way we might have created functions till now? कहीं और? Objects, we created functions in objects, right? So in object, let obj equals to this, and how can I create a function in object? Rather, it's called method, if you guys remember. Methods, people, methods, right? So if I do function and add a comma b, and I write a return a plus b, am I gonna get an error? Right? This is wrong. We have to get the name out, and we have to put it as the key, right? Right? Because what was the definition of objects? Objects का definition क्या था? So objects were just collections of key value pairs, right? So we can define anything inside object up until they are key value pairs. जब तक key value pairs है, we can define them. That's fine. ठीक, तो is this how we have created these functions? Is this how we have created these functions? Right? How can I access this quickly? How can I access this function? We have to do object dot add and then call the function. Right? Right? So yeah, that's all. That's all about functions we have learned so far. Now, these functions in object are called methods. Functions in an object are called method. Right? Right? Have I told you guys कि going forward, for now we can keep that in mind, but going forward we will realize that JS के अंदर anything inside JS can be considered object. Right? So if that's so, can I call any function and method given that they are all written inside object? Right? So almost synonymously use होता है functions or method now. ठीक है? So you can call something method, you can call it function, that's fine. Right? Right? So no doubt still here. Now let's talk about few basically, what can I call them? Technical terms related to functions. Let's talk about these, right? What's this all about? So there's first technical term which is called anonymous function. What do we mean by anonymous? Just this keyword, इसका मतलब क्या है? Is this something that means something strange? Okay. No identity. Okay. Unknown. Right. If I go on my web page and if I click on a private tab, this incognito, right? So in here, whatever I do, it's going to be anonymous. Right? So basically, which does not has any identity. Can I say that? People? Can I say that? Right? So if a function has a name anonymous before it, can I say कि functions without any identity are called anonymous function AF लिख रहा हूँ, right? ये AF anonymous function वाला है, ठीक है? So can I say this, guys? Can I say this? Functions without any identity are called anonymous functions. Just the terminology discuss कर रहे हैं, right? Let's see how it actually works. So let's say if I've created a function and we give name to functions in here, if I don't name it and just keep it like this, I'm writing basically a syntax of anonymous functions, right? This thing, this setup is called anonymous functions. Have we seen this somewhere? ये setup कहीं पे देखा है? This thing? No? Okay, let me comment this out. And एक काम करते हैं. See, JS has this beautiful property जिसमें we can assign functions to variables. Variables ko we can assign functions because it's a loosely typed language. What do I mean by that? Let's say I have a variable, let my func naam se, and in here if I create a function and if I do something like this, if I write a return 10, I should be able to access this, right? So if I go and do a console.log my func and I call it, what do you guys think? Should I be able to print this? Should I be able to print this? Right? Oh, now you guys are getting it. Right? So let's say if I do node HOF and if I do enter, I'm getting this 10. So again, the same question, have you guys seen this setup elsewhere? देखा है क्या? Correct? Jeevan, correct? Correct. Right? So there's all this fuss about what anonymous functions it is. Even in interviews, when I ask people what is an anonymous function, they don't get it. Is there anything to get in anonymous function? It's just basically functions without any name, right? So you can assign these anonymous functions. This entire setup is anonymous function. You can either assign it to a variable or you can go and create an object, and in there you can again create an anonymous function. Right? So basically a function without any name is called anonymous function. Right? Abhi dhyan aaya where we have seen this anonymous function before in our object methods. Clear, guys? Is this terminology clear? What do we mean by an anonymous function? Arrowhead function, okay. If you have asked me here, let me give you a quick intro about something. So basically, जो JS होता है ना, JS, you think कि given that it was created in 10 days, we should have, I mean, the developers, given that we have created browsers and all runtimes based on JS, we should have fixed that language. We should have fixed that language, right? So this language fixation is done basically in patches. Do we know what does patches mean? Let's say you have downloaded a game, right? You have downloaded Call of Duty Modern Warfare, right? Now it's getting a patch update of 2 GB tomorrow. What does that mean? They're adding new features to that game, right? So basically fixing bug or maybe adding features, right? DLC can't be called a patch. ठीक, DLC is expansion. वो अलग realm है उधर, ठीक है? तो expansion and patch are different thing. Now in JS we had these patches which follow some rules which are called ECMA set of rules, ECMA guidelines basically, right? And now this ECMA, I'm not gonna explain this entire thing, but let me quickly refer you guys if you guys want to give it a quick read. Again, you guys not gonna understand it properly, but if I type ECMA script, just giving you guys a quick brief, right? So ECMA script, it's basically is a standard for scripting language, including JS and all, right? So ECMA script, for now, if you want to understand it, it's basically a set of rules that are followed in JS, right? So that the JS is reliable throughout browsers, right? So be it Safari, be it Firefox, be it your Edge, be it Chrome, हर एक जगह the website works or functions almost exactly similar. ठीक है? So just like that, who asked me the arrowhead function one? Santosh, right? So you asked about something that is called arrowhead function, right? Arrowhead function. Now, this is a representation of functions which we'll be learning later in our sessions, right? बाद में सीखेंगे, अभी नहीं. It's like 1 or 2, no, not exactly, 1 month at least, it's parallel, right? So these are part of something that is called ES6, right? ECMAScript 6 का part है ये. For now, we are going through our ES5 and all. ठीक है, तो when I'll teach you guys ES6, I'll teach you what arrowhead functions and all are. All right. And I hope कि this was not overwhelming. बस एक brief idea दे कि what all goes behind our JS environment and all. TypeScript is created upon JS, right? So it's another set of language. Or what TypeScript does is, so JS is our loosely typed language, right? TypeScript क्या करता है? It makes it sort of strictly typed. ठीक? Also again not needed for now. ठीक है, इतना क्लियर हो गया. Shall we move further? आगे चले. Quickly tell me, do we now know what does an anonymous function means? An anonymous function, my bad. Everyone, right? So if I go on and create functions like this, name, what do you guys think? What should you call these functions? In functions को क्या बोलोगे? I mean, I'm giving you guys liberty to name these functions. What do you guys think? You want to name this? If upper one is called anonymous function, which does not have any name, what should this be called? Normal function with name, okay. Non-anonymous function, all right. Unanonymous function, all right. It's simply called named functions. Okay. So these are simply called named functions. Or let's say the interview wants to mess you with you guys. He will call them function statements. Function statements. Okay. So these are the two names that this guy is called. Any doubts in function statements or anonymous function? No, there's third also thing, like in anonymous function, we discussed it only, but see, this thing is called named function. And let me comment this one out. And function, this one is called anonymous function. When we do something like this, no, where name equals to something like this, right? So this is basically called function expression. This is called function expression, right? So we have to learn this few terminologies so that we know what we are actually doing. Clear? We have learned three things. Basically, if we are creating a variable and we are assigning an anonymous function to it, we're going to call it that entire setup a function expression. If someone has written just this part and is asking you, is this something called, you can call it anonymous function. And if it is proper normal function, you can just call it named function or function statements. Any doubts in anything till now? Just the terminologies. Last one. Okay, this is nothing. You remember we were calling function this thing anonymous function without a name, right, Abhijit? So if I create a variable and if I store these functions inside those variable, right? So let's say I'm naming this variable add. मैं क्या कर रहा हूँ? I'm creating a variable add and I'm storing a function inside this, right? So this entire setup, ये जो we have done in this thing, this will be called your function expression. ठीक है? That's just all. Just a few naming conventions. Take. Then there is one more type of thing that we need to learn. Is this fourth? This is fourth, right? ठीक. That is called callback function. What do we mean by callback? Callback का मतलब क्या होता है? What does callback means? वापस बुलाना, वापस आना, ओके ओके, बाद में आना, ऑल राइट राइट राइट. So by now, last lecture में, if you guys remember, we talked about something where we learned that we can pass functions inside functions as arguments. Can we do this? You guys remember it? We can pass functions inside functions as arguments. Remember? Remember, I divided the last lecture in literally 2 points. ठीक है? ठीक है? No, this won't be called recursion exactly. It's something else, right? We are passing functions as arguments, right? We're not calling the same function inside itself. Okay, let's talk about this a bit more. So, let's say I'm creating a function and I'm naming it callback, right? इसको नाम ही callback देते हैं. Now, if I go in here and if I write console.log, I am callback, right? What do we mean by callback is, let's say if I'm creating a function, and let me create one more function, and in this function, parent, let me name it parent. This function is gonna accept a few things. Let's say function E. Let's say I'm accepting a function, and in here, what I'm doing is I'm calling this callback. Right? Let's try to understand what I have done here. Basically, I've created a function which is called callback. It does nothing but it consoles something that is called IAM callback. So if I do callback this thing, what should I be printing? If I just run line number 76, just the line number 76, what should I be printing, people? What should I be printing? I'm callback. Now let's say if I'm writing parent, right? And inside this, I'm writing callback. What am I doing? Am I passing this function as an argument inside this function? Everyone, right? And rather than doing this, if I write console.log parent functions code, and after this, after I've printed this, I'm doing function calling it. What am I doing? What am I doing? No. Am I calling this function? Everyone? Everyone? Right? Okay, let me quickly reiterate it once again. If I call this callback function, what am I doing? This thing, callback function. I'm printing I am callback, right? I'm just running this function. है ना? है ना? अच्छा. What's gonna happen if I run parent, right? I'm just calling parent, इसके अंदर I'm not passing anything. Okay. If I do HOF, I'm getting an error. Why? Because this function is not defined. Right. So let's say कि मैं इसको comment कर देता हूँ. For now, let me clear it and let me run it again. Right. So I'm getting parent functions code. I'm running this basic thing. Just the basic property of function. Whenever they are called, they run whatever the code they hold. Right. Right. इतना clear है everyone? Everyone. Right. Now let's say if I pass, I'm just writing it for your sake. समझाने के लिए, let's say I'm writing an add function in this function. ठीक है? And this add function is basically returning 10 or returning it. Let's quickly console.log 10, right? So if I break it down, what I'm doing is I'm basically creating a function add, right? Function add, and I'm sending it in my parent, right? So if I access this function and if I do console.log function, what should I be getting? Should I be getting this entire function, guys? Yes, no, anything, people, come on. आंसर पता है बोलो, नहीं पता है वो भी बोलो, ठीक है? So let's see if I do a node HOF, I'm getting a function which is add. Makes sense because I'm sending a function. Make sense? करण किधर कंफ्यूजन हो रही है? इन हेयर, यहाँ पे? चलो एक काम करता हूँ, लेट मी जस्ट इरेज दिस एंटायर स्टफ. लेट्स डू इट फ्रॉम स्टार्ट. ठीक है, let's say I've created a parent function, right? And in this parent function, I'm doing console.log parent code. ठीक है? Now let's say I'm creating one more function that is called child, right? And in this console.log I'm printing child code. ठीक है? Now if I call parent separately, child separately, what should I be printing? First this and then this. इतना ध्यान है? Just the simple function stuff, right? Now you remember last lecture में we talked about कि we can pass functions as arguments, right? So tell me, let me remove this. Tell me if I pass 10 in here, मैं 10 pass करता हूँ और यहाँ पे I'm writing func. This is basically a parameter that I've given, एक variable जिसका name कुछ दिया है मैंने. So in hindsight में I'm creating a var func, right? By doing this, and I'm keeping it as undefined for now. So if I don't pass anything inside this, function, and if I do console.log func, so what should I be getting given that I'm doing this behind the scenes? Sab batao, what should I be getting? Undefined, right? Let me quickly clear it once again and let's see. I'm getting undefined. यहाँ तक clear है? Makes sense, right? Now if I pass 10 in this, what should I be getting? I should be getting the 10, right? उसी तरीके से let's say I'm passing this entire function in this, right? ये पूरा function उठा के I'm passing it, right? So if I do console.log func, should I be consoling this entire function? पूरे function को should I be consoling it? Yes, बस इतना सा, right? So if I go and do a clear in it, and if I do node HOF, I'm just getting that entire function. वो पूरा का पूरा function हमें मिल रहा है, right? But we are printing parent code. Why are we not printing child code? Function कब run करता है? When does a function runs? When it's called, right? उसको call करना पड़ता है, right? So if I go in here and यहाँ पे if I pick this func, which we know is this entire stuff, and if I call it, what do you guys think? Now should I print it? Right? So if I do HOF, you will see I'm printing parent code and child code both, right? So this calling a function inside a argument, no parameter, basically function को parameter से get करके calling it, this function, this child function will be called a callback function, right? ठीक. So whenever we are passing a function as an argument in another function, that function will be called callback function. Yes, Karan. Right? So you guys will tell me one thing quickly. एक काम करता हूँ. Let me just comment this out. And if I do function and let me name it parent again, because I think it's making you guys understand better. And in here, let me get operation नाम का something, right? And now I'll be printing console.log parent, and in here I'm creating another function that will be called add, and it's going to accept a comma 10 or a comma b. ठीक, and it's going to print console.log a plus b. ठीक है. Now let's say if I'm calling this parent, right? And if I'm calling it with add, what am I doing? Am I again doing that same stuff? I'm getting this all function and I'm putting it in here, right? But I'm not creating it this messed up. I'm just using the name of this function, right? And if I go in there and if I operation and if I go and pass 1 comma 2, what am I doing? Am I passing these values inside this function? Right? So if I do once more clear and HOF, I should be getting 3. So basically, whenever we are passing a function inside another function as an argument, we are calling the inner function, जो कि argument की तरह pass हो रहा है, this thing, what are we calling it? Callback function, right? Right. So I can say the function that is being passed as an argument inside another function is called callback function. Understandable, people? समझ आता है? Everyone, any doubt in callback function? Because trust me, callback function is very important topic. और सिर्फ अभी नहीं, अभी तो हम लोग basics of JS कर रहे हैं. We'll be building upon it and we'll be learning about advanced JS. तब ये काफी काम होने वाले. Sir, but parameter for parent is operation not A and B. हाँ, so in parent I'm passing 1 comma 2, no? पेरेंट के अंदर से हम पास कर रहे हैं, राइट? वी आर नॉट गेटिंग इट इन हियर, यहाँ पे ले ही नहीं रहे, राइट? वी कैन डू दैट टू. आई कैन डू ऐड कॉमा ए कॉमा बी, राइट? आई एम पासिंग 1 कॉमा 2, राइट? और यहाँ पे पैरामीटर पे टैब नहीं है ना कि यू कैन गेट ओनली 3 पैरामीटर 4 पैरामीटर, यू कैन पास मल्टीपल वंस. तो यहाँ पे इफ आई डू ए कॉमा बी, स्टिल वी आर गोना गेट सेम रिजल्ट. ठीक है? हाँ, this okay, let's try this one. What you guys are saying is basically 1 comma 2. What if we do this, right? So for that I'm calling this function. Let me remove this one and let me remove this one. Just let's call the function. So let me clear it, and if we do node HOF, I'm getting an error, right? And that error is basically operation. Let's put a comma b and let's see. So it's gonna give us an error. ठीक है? So for now we are not gonna do this one. Basically यहाँ पे एक और stuff आ जाता है. वो क्या होता है ना? The thing is, if you go and type these inside an object function, what you're doing is you're basically calling it here itself, right? You're calling it here itself rather than going inside parent and then calling it. So that's a error in its own way. That's why I was not going there. But ठीक है, if you want to pass parameters inside a callback function, pass it from the parent and वहां से just pull it in there. ठीक है? So let's say 1 comma b, you should be good, no issues. ठीक है? क्लियर? अभी क्लियर है? Why we have to do this destructuring stuff? अलग अलग करके भेजना. ठीक है? So I hope no doubt in callback function. Is there any doubt? No? ठीक है. So now this thing is gonna pave our way for something that is called higher order functions or basically HOFs, right? HOFs. ठीक है? So let me write a definition of HOF and then you guys will tell me which function of these can be considered an HOF, right? So basically I can say if I can get the definition. Sure, never mind. So let's say if a function takes one or more callback functions as an argument, it can be called HOF. right? Right. So basically, if a function takes one or more callback functions as an argument, it can be called a HOF. Getting back to upper code, कौन है higher order function यहाँ पे? If this one add is a callback function, what's higher order function? Correct, Karan? Correct, Jeevan? Right? Acha, let me give you guys one more chance. Here's the definition, guy. Here's the definition. Let me decrease the spaces so that everything is in one frame. Chal. Here's the definition of a higher order function, and here's a code written. What do you guys think? Is parent a higher order function? Right? So this is what higher order function is. It's gonna take a callback function as an argument. Okay, it's the definition is rather incomplete for now. I can say it takes as an argument or returns a function can be called mature. Right? So either it takes a function as an argument, or if it returns another function, I can call it HF. सर ये कैसे पेरेंट में जाकर ऐड को कॉल कर रहा है? विच वन? दिस वन? इस कोड में? सो वी हैव पास्ड दिस ऐड फंक्शन, नो? ये ऐड फंक्शन ऐड किया है एज एन आर्ग्यूमेंट, एंड वी आर एक्सेप्टिंग इट एज एन ऑपरेशन, राइट? So now we are calling this function, basically it's this one, and we are calling it with a comma b, whichever parameters that we have passed. That's all. And it was called callback function. ठीक है? Doubts in this? I hope it's clear. ठीक है? अच्छा, just give me a second. Someone's at door. Just give me a second. All right. Sorry about that. Chalo. So we were discussing about higher order functions, right? So basically, if a function, let me comment these out. Basically, if a function takes one or more callback function as an argument or returns a function, it can be called a higher order functions, right? So basically, we all now know okay, how we can create a higher order function. Everyone, do we know now? सबको पता चल गया? How we can create a higher order function, guys? 1, 0, anything, right? So for now, we won't be creating our own higher order functions, right? We're gonna learn some inbuilt HOFs given by JS, right? We're gonna learn actually 4 of these inbuilt HOFs. ठीक, अभी इसमें 2, 3 ऐड कर सकते हैं functions. Yeah, sure. You can go on and you can create a function and you can name it subtract, and you can go pass a comma b, and you can do console.log a minus b, and you can go and pass it as a parameter subtract, right? And जाके उसे call करो. So let's say you're getting it as sub only, ठीक? You can go and call it, right? It's all doable. आप एक बार try करना है फिर. ठीक है, वही तो definition है ना, if a function takes one or more callback functions, right? right? ठीक है. So the higher order functions that we're going to learn from JS are map. Let me name it in one line only. We're going to learn about map. We're going to learn about for each. We're going to learn about filter, and we're going to learn about reduce. These three higher order functions we're going to learn about, right? And this will be used for now also, and in whenever we're combining our HTML and all. So Tom के lectures में भी we're going to use these. ठीक है, so shall we start learning them? Right. Parent console.log child, ये कोड नहीं समझ आया. Like what? Just give me a second, people. Which code? In here. Sorry, not getting you. So basically, एक बार फिर से let me quickly reiterate it. So you have these functions, right? If I've created a function and I've created like one more function, if I'm passing that function inside a function as an argument, उसको I'm getting it and I'm calling it inside that function. ठीक? So this function which is getting passed, right? ये add function which is getting passed, this will be called a callback function, and in whichever function it has been passed, that is going to be called a higher order function. That's all. Nothing much. बस इतना सही. ठीक? And this stuff I've already discussed in last lecture, right? Reason है why I discussed it in last lecture, so that you guys don't get confused today. ठीक है? So operation is parameter or a function. It's a parameter, but that parameter has a value of function. Okay, so let's start with first, which is basically map, right? Now, before we start, one thing, these are all functions that have been created for arrays, right? The JS is giving us some inbuilt higher order functions which have been created for arrays only. Okay, so let's say let array equals to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? We have 5 numbers in them. And if I want to iterate over this array, how can I do it with a normal for loop? I can write for let I equals to 0, I is less than array dot length. I'll do a I plus plus, and I'll do console dot log array. Right? Will I be doing this, everyone? If I want to print every element in this array? But for running this type of for loop, do we need to know where do we have to start? Where do we have to end? And we have to fix this also. We have to think about it also. Everyone, do we need to know about these conditions? Right? Now, have I shown you guys a JSON file ever? JSON file दिखाया है कभी? Yes, no, yes, no. All right, let me show you guys. So, why is this Yahoo? That's an element. Is that website called JSON placeholder? Just give me a second. So this thing, this structure, right? We have a array, right? ध्यान देना structure पे. We have a big array, and inside that we have data objects, right? There are multiple objects, and these objects contain data of whatever user we are talking about. Okay? This format is called JSON format, right? ये जो format है इसको JSON format बोलते हैं, and this is how every website, like most of the website, are gonna receive their data. So if I go on Flipkart now, if I go on Flipkart and let's say I'm taking electronics, and in here this one, right? So in here we have these multiple datas, right? We have these multiple datas. So these are nothing but in JS we are getting an object with a image URL, title, and a price. Okay, and it's gonna look like something like this. So this is a JSON data, and given that we're gonna later create websites like these, are we gonna know कि how many items are we gonna get inside an array? एक array में कितना डेटा मिलने वाला है मुझे? Should it be predefined? What do you guys think? It's gonna be in million. Of course, it's gonna be in million. And daily, are we gonna still add multiple products? Daily, we're gonna keep on adding, keep on adding, keep on adding. Right? Do you think it's good idea to predefine? Predefine करना good idea है? No, right? So going forward, we are learning everything to create a website, right? That's why we have to learn map. Basically, what map does is it does exactly something like this only. वो iterate ही करता है over an array, but it iterates it something like this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a variable n array. Inside that, I'm gonna write array, right? And given that this map is a inbuilt higher order function, I'm gonna access it by doing dot map. Right? I'm going to call this map function. What was the definition of higher order function, guys? What was the definition of higher order function? If a function takes one or more callback functions, right? So we are going to pass a function inside this map, right? And this function is going to accept 3 arguments, and it's going to be always 3. We can't exceed them. 3 cheeses it's going to have. It's going to have element. It's going to have index. Let me represent it as I, and it's gonna have array, right? Array, so that we don't get confused with this. So what do I mean by that? Let's say if I go and do a console.log ele, comma I, comma array, you guys tell me what basically I'm doing when I'm running this piece of code. Let me make this a bit bigger and scroll it up. If I do node and HOF, if I'm running it, let me zoom it out again a bit. What do you guys think? What am I printing? I'm printing for this array. 1 second then. Let me just quickly clear it. Node and etc. Right. So am I printing with ELE? Basically the element that we are selecting. The element that we are selecting. The element that we are selecting. Right. And in I, we're gonna get the index that we are selecting. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And what's this array giving us? The array, the main array that is in picture. Right? Right? But have you guys seen that I've defined any stopping condition or starting condition in this array? No, right? So that's how going forward, if we are going to get data, no, we're going to iterate over it by doing a map. Okay, everyone. So few more things are there in map, but for now, let's say that let's say, I mean, I need you guys to do it quickly. So let's say I have I have named it an array. Let's say string array, right? Equals to hello world how are you, right? If I want to use this string and print each and every element, just the element, right? Not the index, not the array, just element. How can I do it? I'll paste this in chat. Wait, you guys can't access the chat, right? Let's do one thing. Let me create a replit real quick once. Create triple, this one, this one. And I'm not sure if there's a setting in Zoom by which you guys can get it or not. I'm not sure, but sure. And let me share it with everyone. Guys, you have this array. You have to print each and every element by using map function, right? Map a higher order function, and you have to just print these strings. That's all. You don't have to print index. You don't have to print array. You have to do it with higher order function. Basically, you have to do it map. Map के साथ करना. Try it once. Can you explain syntax of map again? Sure. So let's say if I want to map over some array, so I'll create a new variable. I'll explain you why I have to create a new variable, but that's for something later. I'm creating a new variable and I'm doing a array, whichever array I wanna loop it over. I'll write array, I'll write dot map, and inside that map, no, given that it's a higher order function, I'll have to write a callback function, basically this function, right? An anonymous function. And inside this anonymous function, I'm going to get three parameters: element, index, and array. If I'm writing element, I'm going to get the elements inside this array. If I'm writing index, I'm going to get index of these elements. And if I'm writing array, I'm going to get the original array. Okay? Why we're storing it in new variable? That's a story for 5 more minutes later. But for now, is that clear? So the callback function fast is fixed. Yes, it's not any named function, it's an anonymous function. So yes, it's fixed. You have to always write this syntax. What is going to change is this, which array you are mapping it over. That's all going to change. Array.map element console.log element, and you are calling an array. Okay. Okay. But Karan, I don't think you need to call an array. Chalo, koi nahi, that's fine. NSTR, if you are consoling it already. All right, correct. Rohit also correct. Kapil, is this incomplete, Kapil? Santosh correct, but I just wanted you guys to print element, not the index, not the array, just the element. Let's do it together. Now, let me comment this one out. We have a array to travel. What I'll do is I'll create a new variable, an array. I'm gonna pick this string and I'm gonna write a map, right? Now this is a higher order function. So should I write a function inside this? Everyone, right? It's gonna be an anonymous function. This is basically the setup of our map. Now in this map, we're gonna get three things: element, index, and array, right? But you don't have to always write this. Let's say I am removing I and array, right? So should I be getting element first parameter, element, right? So what do you guys think? If I do console dot log ele, should I be printing just these elements? Just these elements, right? So node HOF, right? Acha, how many of you guys are thinking if I write I and if I write I in here, I should be printing index? How many of us are thinking this? Yes, no, anything? Okay, we have yeses and we have nos, right? So here's the thing, guys. Let's say आपने एक function create किया, right? A comma B, and in this you are basically consoling log B, okay? And A comma B print करते हैं. Now, if you're calling this function, no, with just one, it's gonna just get the value of A, right? जो भी पहला parameter होगा ना, it's gonna get the value whatever we are passing. So if you're passing just one value, the first parameter is gonna get it, right? When you're passing the second value, then only the second parameter will be viable. So let's say if I'm passing two values and if I'm removing B, what should I be printing? Just the A? Just the A? Right? सिर्फ A print करेंगे. And if I make it as B, still we're gonna get one only. ठीक है? If you wanna get these both of them, you have to write both of them. ठीक है? That logic is gonna work here. And if I've written I no, I'm still gonna get the element in here. Right? So if I do node HOF, I'm still gonna get the element. If you wanna access the index, you will be creating one more parameter in here and let's name it IND. And now if I try to access IND, I should be accessing the index. right? And if I want to access the array, I should be writing array. And if I go and write array, I should be able to access it, right? So this clears both of the doubts. Can I name the element as element? No, you can name it anything. You can keep the name custom, right? And that's gonna completely work. Okay, so if I go and run this thing, it's still gonna print. Clear है how we are gonna access the elements in this array? Everyone? N array का use I'll tell you as shortly. ठीक है, उसके लिए मुझे आपको एक बार for each भी पढ़ाना है. ठीक है? Why is it printing array 5 times? Because it's printing array for each iteration, right? How many elements do we have in this array? 5, right? It's just accessing that array and printing it 5 times. ठीक है? That's why we don't usually need that one. कब need होगा? When you have to like check something, right? When you have to cross check every element with the array. इतना clear है? How can we print elements using dot map? How can we print elements using dot map? सर मैप फंक्शन ऑब्जेक्ट में भी वर्क करेगा क्या? नो नो, मैप फंक्शन इज फॉर एरे, सो इट्स गोना वर्क फॉर एरे ओनली. ऑब्जेक्ट के ऊपर लूप चलाना है, गो फॉर फॉरेन लूप. सर इफ वी ओनली नीड एलिमेंट एंड एरे, if you only need element array and array, you have to again define those 3 things in parameter and you can just go on and get the array. ठीक है, but the like क्या बोलते हैं इसको यार, the queue should be maintained. जिस लाइन में सब कोई आ रहा है that line should be maintained. समझ रहे हो ना? what order, correct? Thank you संतोष. Order should be maintained. Sir, how is it working if no arguments are passed to the anonymous function? No arguments, arguments, I'm not understanding. Like, okay, got it. So again, I told you guys, no, these are inbuilt higher order functions, right? So the values that we need to pass, no, we have to directly pass them in here only, in our anonymous function only. ठीक है? Rest is taken care by JS. JS takes care of rest things. All right. So just like inbuilt functions, we can just go and write 2 lowercase and 2 uppercase. We don't have to write any other things inside those. Just like that, we have some custom higher order functions created by JS and we can just use them. Right? We don't need to call them annually. That's fine. Understood? Right? Okay. So now let's try to understand why did we created a new variable for it. Let's say if I go and write a return statement in it, and let's say I'm just writing element, right? Return custom, right? So if I go and do console.log n array, what should I be getting? What do you guys think? What should I be getting? Elements, okay. So map is gonna return an array, right? So if I do a HOF, I'm getting an array, right? Is it array any different than our str array? Any different than str array? No, but trust me, it's a new array, right? How do I know about that? For that, let's say if in here, I'm accessing each and every element by this custom because I have passed it as parameter everyone, right? So if I do O in this, should I be adding O in each and every element? Something like this, something like this. Yes, right. So if I print an array and if I do console.log str array, should I be updating them both? Because we are assigning it a value. Basically, we're returning a value. Okay, take it. I'll be printing an array first and str array last, right? So just keep that in mind while you're looking at the solution. What do you guys think? What happened? Concatenation happened. but in a new array. Was original array changed or updated? Was original array changed or updated? No, right? So basically, in hindsight, what's happening is, let me quickly write this. So what's happening is, let's say I have an array where a equals to a comma b, right? What I'm doing is I'm creating a new variable n array and I'm creating a new array. And basically what I'm doing is for let I equals to 0, I is less than a dot length I plus plus, and in that we are picking na and we are na dot pushing it a, right? But let's say I'm adding something to it. So what I'm doing in here is I'm basically picking that and I'm concatenating it, right? So now if I go and print console.log na and console.log a, and if I go and do node HOF, I'm getting something like that again. ठीक है, तो in hindsight this stuff is happening. समझ आया what's happening in hindsight, but it's a bit more bigger. ठीक है, so now basically what map does is if we have an old array, it picks that array, it creates a new array and it updates it, right sir? So the map function returns an array by default. Correct, correct. So the map function is gonna return an array by default. Correct. Take what if we return I? So what if you say return I? What are we expecting? Given that I is the indexes, so what are we expecting in an array? Okay, let's see. Let's see. So if I do this, I'm getting an array of index. Okay, whatever you are returning in this, you're gonna get it in map. Clear है? Clear है? Return array. Oh, okay. Let's return array and let's see. So let me clear it. Achha, quickly tell me what are we expecting if I'm returning an array? Okay, take it. An array of arrays. Expected the right? So yeah, that's how it happens. Okay, so whatever you want to return, you can go on returning, right? So let's do one more thing with this. Let's get here. Let array equals to 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, right? Now let an array equals to array dot map, and in here I'm gonna write a function, an anonymous function rather, and let's say I'm parsing a ELE, right? So if I write return ELE into 2, and if I do console.log array, I want from you guys ki what are we expecting when I console this entire code. If I run node HOF, what should I be getting? Okay, Vanity. Okay. Last index 5 into 2, it means 10. Okay. Okay. Achha. Quickly tell me, is this element exactly what we are getting in here? So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, these elements, right? And we're returning it with a into 2, right? So what this map is going to do, it's going to create a new array, right? And it's going to push the elements, but after multiplying it with a 2. So if I go and press enter in it, I'm going to get them. Understood? How map is working? How map is working? Everyone, clear again? Clear है? अच्छा ठीक है, एक छोटा सा सवाल है for you guys. Given an array, right? And that array is gonna have array and I mean, you guys can do it because you're not able to copy it. Array may we have digits from 1 to 10, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Use map and print just the even indexed elements. Question clear है? Question clear है? What we have to do? So let's say I have an array. I mean, guys, अगर already start कर दिया है करना, which you guys usually do, so at least write a 1 in chat so that I know you guys are doing it. Or I will think you guys are not responding. Okay. So this is an array and I want finally an array as something like this. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Take and TLDR guys, please use map. Map use करो. So you have been given an array, right? आपको क्या करना है? You have to use map function and you have to finally print array with only even number, right? ठीक है? Print just the even elements. My bad guys, index नहीं, even elements. I mean the question was correct, but I think अभी के लिए it's too much for you guys. ठीक है, कपिल correct. So when we give map without function expression, new array, will the data get updated in the original array? It depends if it is in a context. What do I mean by that? Let's say if it's in a function, right? So if there is any statement after that array.map, it might work, but if not, it can work. Okay, that depends on where you have written it. So you'll have to try it yourself a few times to get a hold of that. A.map function el if correct, Jyoti correct, Vishya element if I is divisible, correct, but for our last question abhi ke liye I just updated the question so that it's even elements. ठीक है? Undefined आ रहा है साथ में. Okay, we'll talk about that. Where's the question? Let element a.map el. I mean undefined shouldn't be there, but okay, we'll see. ठीक है, all right. So let's quickly do it together. Abhi, what we have to do is for my bad. We have this array, right? We have this array. Let me comment upper elements out. We have this array, and I'm gonna do let an array equals to array dot map, and inside this I'll be writing function element, and now I'm gonna return, not return, यहाँ पे me if element is divisible by 2, then I'll return EL, right? So if I go and do console.log in array, I should be getting F, I should be getting this, right? But we're getting undefined 2 and then undefined 4 and then undefined 6 and undefined 8 and undefined 10. Okay. So how many of us are getting this? Everyone, right? Can we guess what's happening here? Can we guess what's happening? Right. So basically the spaces for this entire array is created. Array copy ही हो रहा है. But in place of odd elements, जो JS है, it's returning undefined by itself. Right? Because you are returning it for this thing. Yes, correct. Odd is not defined, right? So that's why if you wanna like this is filtering, right? We're filtering even number out of an array. So there's this higher order function that is filter that's gonna come way more better in this play. Okay. So sir, but only the even should be stored in new array, right? Yes. I mean, but we're returning it without dealing with our old odd elements, right? That's why I'll teach you. Okay, we have our filter functions also, right? So this is just there to tell you guys ki how map is gonna create spaces for odd and how filter is gonna be way better to use here. Okay. But is the use of map clear? It's gonna access each and every element inside an array, right? And you can modify it based on yourself. So let's say if I do else, let's say if it's odd, return odd, right? So let's say if I do a clear node HOF, I should be getting odd in places of that. करेक्ट मिल्केश. ठीक है, मैप क्लियर हो गया. मैप क्लियर हो गया गाइस. एवरीवन, एवरीवन, right? So let's do one thing, guys. Go and have a break of 2-3 minutes, and then we'll talk about it again. So all elements from original array is pushed to new array. Yes. ठीक. So guys, everyone get back at 16, right? We have few more things to cover. So yeah. All right. Everyone here, guys, attendance quickly. Chicken. All right. So we talked about map, right? Quickly, let's reduce map quickly. So what's the purpose of map? Purpose क्या है? Why do we need map? So can I say कि iteration over array without any starting or ending condition? Can I say that? Can I say that? Everyone? Right? Right? And can I say that returns a new and in bracket modified array if we are modifying it? If we are modifying it, can I say this point for map to people? Everyone? Return, right? And we have experienced this thing, right? So when I did if element 2 return element, and if we are not dealing with the rest element, what we are getting? Undefined, right? So everyone keep all this stuff in mind because we are gonna uncover everything slowly. Okay, so just keep two things in mind for map for now. Okay, now let me introduce you guys with one more higher order function that is called for each, right? And it's easy. Let's say I have 12, 14, 15, 16 and 18, right? थोड़ा नया लिया, 1 to बहुत होता है. And if I do let n array equals to array dot for each, right? Most of the higher order function, at least just the 4 ones we're gonna learn, they're gonna have almost exact similar anonymous function. So again, it's gonna contain element, index, and array for each also, right? And inside it, all we have to do is console.log element, right? Just watch what happens if I run it. This happens. Now, by just what you have observed now, tell me what's the difference between map and for each? Or do you guys think there's a difference? किसी को लगता है कोई डिफरेंस था? एरे में प्रिंट नहीं कर रहा है, ओके, आई एम जस्ट प्रिंटिंग एलिमेंट डायरेक्टली. एलिमेंट प्रिंट कर रहा हूं. आई हैवंट प्रिंटेड दिस एन array yet. I haven't returned anything. ठीक है, आई एम जस्ट कंसोलिंग इट. सो बाय कंसोल, is there any difference? We print these rather and show you guys. Let me clear it because we don't have much space. Any difference? No, right? So see, here's one more thing. Map and for each are almost same, right? But remember, they're almost same. Okay. So map, what map does is it creates a new array and modifies it and returns that array. Exactly. Yes, map yahi karta tha. It creates a new array, it modifies it, whatever condition we want it to be, and then it returns us that new array. क्या पुराना वाला array update हो रहा है? नहीं हो रहा था, right? But for each में क्या होता है? We are gonna update this array itself, right? So let's say if I write a return statement. Now return is a different beast in itself. And if I go and do clear and node HOF, let me console.log n array, right? And if I do node HOF, I'm getting undefined, right? Let's see what happens if I do console.log array and HOF. Any difference? Any difference? No. So here's the thing. For each is always, right? This is going to be true for every time. For each always just returns undefined, right? It does not returns any array or anything, right? It always returns undefined. Okay? And it accesses the original array. Okay? So it's gonna always access your original array. ठीक. And let's say if you want to multiply and all, so given that it's not returning anything, you can just do simply console anything inside this for each. Okay. So for each is gonna be used. I mean, both are almost same, but for each is gonna used whenever you don't need to return a new array. You can just use the old array and you can go on printing stuffs, right? So let node HOF, right? So you can do this with that, right? So if there is a question that you need to double the numbers each and every element, or you need to concatenate something in that element, right? So you can go with for each, but if they want new array also, you want to go with map. Say correct, Karan. Sir, then what is a need to make new variable for doing for each? Because that's how we are going to define this. ठीक है? ठीक? अच्छा. Now, I mean, the question is correct. Let's say if I remove this, okay, and if I do a clear, and if I do node HOF, I'm still gonna get that. I'm still gonna update that. But if I want to modify my original array, no, I can go into array and array, and I can pick the index and I can go into element into two, right? So now don't have any n array to print, so I can go and print console.log array. ठीक है? हाँ करण, so I fixed it for you. ठीक है? So you can do it both ways, but now we can update our original array. Clear? So for each is gonna be used for whenever you have to just iterate over an array and you just have to access those elements, right? But let's say you want to modify those elements too, you would rather use map, because map does not updates this original array, it creates a new array and gives updated format. Okay, so there are two major difference between for each, right? So one we have for each, and let's write difference between for each and map. इतना तो clear हो गया ना कि both for each and map are gonna be just doing exact same thing, iterating over an array, right? There is just difference between the return statement, right? So map क्या return करता है? Map, what does map returns? What does map returns? Map returns array, new array, right? So map returns new array. And what does for each returns? So for each is gonna return undefined always. Okay. For now it won't really make sense. I know it's not making sense ki why do we need map and for each differently, but try to keep it in mind ki we need new array sometimes, right? Now, how many of you guys are thinking ki why do we need new array at all? New array क्यों चाहिए? Right? I told you guys ki map is gonna return a new array, right? Whereas for each is gonna return undefined. But if you're just iterating over it, they both are almost same. So why the hell do we need a new array, right? It will be necessary when we are doing something that is called method chain, right? I'll be teaching it shortly if we have time. But method chaining is where we're gonna see the real difference between map and for each. Okay, and guys, trust me, I'm focusing on map and for each ka difference so much. Why? Because it's a very important question that is usually asked in interviews, right? And I have interviewed students, I have interviewed professionals, and many of the times they have messed up here. What's the difference between map and for each, right? So far we have learned one difference. What's that difference between for each and map? Correct. The return statement. Understood? For each and map ka difference, right? But the similarity is that both are gonna iterate over an array. Similarity itna. Clear है people? ठीक है, तो let's quickly cover our other HOFs too, and then if we have time, we'll be covering method chaining. ठीक है, so now we have our third higher order function, which is filter. Right? So remember this thing. What happened here? What happened here? We were getting undefined in places of odd. याद है? याद है? Right? So how do we fix that? Because of course we are gonna need data with filtered sometimes. Kabhi data we need filtered. So if I go and if I fix this, again, filter is almost exactly similar like map, right? So filter is also gonna return a new modified array, right? Let n array equals to array dot filter, and it's gonna take exactly same parameters as we did in map and for each. So element, index, and array, right? The only thing it differs is return statement, right? So now let's say if I have written element divisible by 2 equals to 0, right? So what I'm basically doing is I'm asking my filter function to return the elements which are divisible by 2. So watch what happens if I do console.log in array. And let me clear it on node and etc. What am I getting? Even only, right? Is there any undefined or anything? No, right? So if you want to filter data, you're gonna go for filter, array dot filter. Okay. If you don't give any array for each, same, right? So if you're not considering return statement, the map and for each are gonna be same. ठीक, रिटर्न की कंडीशन हम मैप फॉर ईच में लिख सकते हैं क्या? रिटर्न की कंडीशन हम मैप फॉर ईच, yeah, in map we can write return condition, but in places of where like in odd places it's gonna return undefined. So what map does is it takes the original array, it creates an exact empty copy of original array, right? It's gonna create a new array with 10 spaces, and whatever you're returning, it's gonna fill it, and rest spaces are gonna be left undefined. Okay, so to prevent that, we are gonna use filter whenever we want to filter something out. समझ आता है? And for each we can't return anything, so that's there. ठीक, so understood कि filter कैसे काम करता है, right? So let me give you guys an actual example, actual industry level example कि filter use कैसे होता है. So let JSON, I'm creating a JSON object and let's create data, right? So let's say I have a title and this is the title is Vivo, right? Let's say I don't JSON बना रहे, but I think we can go for that, right? Price equals to, or rather 100, right? And category, let's create category as mobile, right? And let me create few more categories like this. So let's say I have this is 120 and this is also mobile, and let's create V and let's name it HP, but this is not mobile, this is laptop, right? Now control V, and we have any TV company you guys might think of. LG, I guess. Sony. Alright, let's go with Sony. So Sony, right? And let's have a T thing, right? Let me split this. Let me split this so that we can see both of them together. Yes. Okay. So data is visible, right? इसको थोड़ा छोटा कर देते हैं. Data is visible, everyone. This JSON data, right? Is it an array? Is it an array? Array है. So we can write a filter on it. Filter लिख सकते हैं. Right? मैं उसको मिटाने वाला हूँ. Right? So let an array equals to JSON dot filter. Right? Not filter. ठीक है? And we're gonna write the anonymous function, basic stuff, element comma I comma array, right? So that we can return. How can I access? Let's say first return से पहले तो ये बताओ console.log ELE करूंगा. What should I be accessing? What should I be accessing quickly? Each object. How many of us think it's gonna access each and every object? Right? So we are all correct at that part. It's gonna access each and every object. Let's say I wanna access category. How can I do that? How can I do that? If I want to access category, element dot category. So if I do element dot category, and if I go node HOF, I'm gonna get the categories of these elements. दिख रहा है क्या? दिख रहा है this thing? Categories of each elements. Right? So if I go on a website, let's say मैं Flipkart पे जाता हूँ, and if I select a category, right? So I mean यहाँ पे there's no category for that, but let's assume कि I'm selecting DSLR, उसकी जगह I'm selecting LG, right? So I should only get the LG data, right? If I'm selecting LG, I should only get the LG data. Intention clear है क्या मेरे? Let me find it actually. कोई like mobile phones, where can I access mobile phones? This one, and in here view all. Let's see यहाँ पे. So here, let's say if I'm clicking on Samsung, right? So I should be only seeing Samsung phones, right? So I should be only seeing Samsung phones. Everyone clear है what I'm projecting? मैं कहाँ ले जा रहा हूँ आपको? ठीक है? So now we have a data. I want only the data with mobile phones. So आप क्या कर सकते हो? You can let me comment that out. You can simply write return element dot category equals to mobile, right? And if I go and clear it, node HOF, I'm not printing it. Let me console dot log nn, right? So if I go and do HOF on it, I'm just getting the data with mobile phones. जिनकी भी category mobile है, I'm just getting them. समझ आ रहा है what goes behind all this thing? जब भी we are filtering or sorting something, right? Isn't this cool? Correct. Correct. So let's say if you want to go for every Vivo, right? So we have just only one Vivo. So let's say I just want Vivo data. How can I do that? Let's say I'm writing this, and can I write and element dot title equals to Vivo, right? Or इसको it's a good practice to keep everything under wraps. ठीक है? तो what I'm doing? I'm selecting a category of mobile phones, and I'm just selecting the title which has Vivo, right? So if I do clear node HOF, I'm gonna get just the Vivo ones. ठीक है? And to show you guys more of that, let's say कि मैंने एक और data बनाया, comma, and in this data I'm keeping the title as this, but I hope कि Vivo के laptops भी होते हैं. I'm just hoping. ठीक है? Now if I clear it and if I run it, I'm just gonna get the mobile. सिर्फ मोबाइल मिलने वाला है. ठीक है? And let's say if I'm just going for title, so I'm gonna get both of these titles. Take. All right, Jyoti, for now you're gonna get the entire object. For now, just assume that you're gonna get an entire object, but deal with them by doing a element.price, right? You can run a map on it and you can go for element.price. Sir, can you use the return statement after if condition, or does it have to be in for? No. See, return statement needs a final condition, right? So if you want to write a if else condition, go for it. But finally, you have to return it in a single line. Okay. So if you want to do if odd elements, even elements, that's fine. You can go for it. Check. Okay. Clear. Instead of return, can we console? Let's say instead of returning, we are just consoling, right? If I write console.log, and if we go node HOF, I'm getting it as true and false, right? So we clear it, node HOF. ठीक, तो basically वो क्या कर रहा है? It's just consoling if these conditions are true or not, right? So for the very first data, this condition is true, that's why I'm getting true, and for rest condition, we are getting false. ठीक है? Clear है? If we are gonna console, what are we gonna get? Okay, so filter is gonna be used something in that way. So getting an idea, a hang ki how we're gonna use these things later, and they're gonna come handy very much. You can, yes, but few more things. Again, you'll have to try it yourself to understand ki how these things are actually working. क्योंकि मैं यहाँ पे I'm typing it. You guys can see कि it's working, but how it will be happening once you are going for the examples. Clear? Filter, what filter is doing, is that clear? Everyone? Everyone? What is it returning? So far, we have learned 3 higher order functions. What was map returning? A new array. We are not going to say array. Just array nahi bolna hai. We have to say new array. Okay? And what was for each returning? For each returning? Undefined. Undefined. What is filter returning? It's going to return again new array. Right? So if I console.log the old array, no, the data is still there. एक बार I hope इसका नाम array नहीं था, इसका नाम JSON था, right? So अगर आपने filter किया data, the data is still gonna be there. ठीक है, data तो उधर होगा. ठीक है, so again it's gonna return new array with whatever condition में. ठीक. Santosh, you can do any logic you want, but finally you have to reduce it into a statement, be it true or be it false for return. Check. You want to go with condition, go nuts. But finally, you should be able to write it in a return statement. All right. Shall we move to the next higher order function? The final one, actually. Reduce. Check. So let's close this. Let's get back. Let's get back to this one. Let me comment these out. And take. So finally, we have let array equals to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and 7, right? And let's say what we want is basically sum of all these elements, right? So if you want to do a sum of all these elements, could we have done it with map and for each? What do you guys think? क्या हम map and for each के साथ कर सकते हो? Yes, we should have maintained a count, right? But I mean, we can maintain a count and we might actually print it, but they're not going to return a value, right? They're either returning array or undefined. But there's a higher order function method which basically returns our a single value. Actually, it returns a final value. It's usually used to reduce the array to some certain value, right? That's why the name. So this reduce function is gonna have basically two stuff. It has something that is called accumulator, right? Again, this can be named anything. The name it has been given is accumulator. You can name it anything, right? And then we have our element or current value. Tick. So by that logic, if I quickly write a console.log current value in here, should I be printing again each and every element? What do you guys think? I'm printing each and every element. One is missing, right? So ये क्या करता है? It starts from this one and it takes the last element as accumulator, right? So if I go and do a console.log accumulator and if I do node HOF, now we are having one also. Okay, but for rest elements, the accumulator is undefined, right? So the accumulator basically starts from, it takes the very first element as its accumulator and then we have a current value. Abhi kya hoga? If I write return accumulator plus current value. What do you guys think? What am I gonna do? Remember the problems in which we did sum of the arrays, array ka sum karna, right? So basically what we are doing is we're taking one and we're taking the current value, which is 2, and we're adding them. So if this is 3, no, after addition, this comes out to be 3. In next iteration, this 3 is gonna be the accumulator, right? Then we are gonna have our 3 and 3 and 3, it's gonna be 6. Then this 6 is gonna be accumulator for next round. Okay, so if I do a node HOF on it, I haven't consoled it. Let me console.log in array. And if I do node HOF in it, I'm getting 28. You guys tell me, is this correct? Okay. So accumulator not understand, of course. Let me open Excalibur quickly. और थोड़ा सा जल्दी समझने की कोशिश करना because we have very little time left. So let me paste it in here. Okay. Now this one and this one. अच्छा इतना करने के बजाय if I told you guys this thing, no, this accumulator is like that sum that we used to take, right? So where sum equals to 0. Okay, and we did for where I equals to 0 and I is less than array dot length. Remember array dot length and I plus plus, and what we did was sum plus equals to array I. ये याद है? The accumulator is just that. Make sense जीवन? समझ आता है? ठीक है? So now you guys tell me, if I make this accumulator as 10, so should we start from 10 and then keep on adding 10? Right? Though functionality is there also. So you can add the accumulator after this entire function, right? So basically, जो reduce है ना, reduce, it takes two parameters. First one is the callback function, right? And the second parameter is basically initial value for accumulator. Initial value for accumulator, right? So let me comment this one out and let's write the statement again quickly. So let n array equals to array dot reduce, right? And in here, let me paste this. ठीक है, paste कर दिया हमने. And my bad. Let me remove this one. And yeah, we're back to square one. Chalo. So we can basically add a comma here and we can add an initial value to this accumulator. Okay. So now if I do a node HOF, no, I'm getting 38. Makes sense? Makes sense? right? Okay, I'll repeat it once again. So this example was actually good to explain you guys accumulator. So you guys remember कि when we were doing sum and all, so we used to do this. Everyone, इतना याद है? इतना याद है? So this is exactly what we are doing in reduce. In reduce, we are basically writing our anonymous function and it takes two parameters, right? One is accumulator and current value. If you are not providing any initial value in line number 274, the accumulator is going to take the very first value as its initial value and uske baad it's going to keep on adding stuff, right? But let's say if you have provided an accumulator, it's going to use that too. ठीक? So Sakshi, it's actually working like this. So let's say कि initially आपने sum को 0 रखा and you keep on adding, but let's say आपने sum को कुछ initial value दे दी. So just like that, we are giving that sum an initial value of 10. Starts with 10, correct. ठीक है? So initially we were printing 28, हमने 10 add किया तो it's printing 38. Right? Now let's say if I'm doing rather than addition, I can do multiply also. So if I go and clear it, if I do node HOF, I'm getting 5040 whatever. ठीक? So do we have to write function after array dot reduce like array reduce function? This thing, function. This function you're talking about, Karan? हाँ, ये लिखना पड़ेगा. For now, you have to write this anonymous function. And I know why you're asking this because you have seen something like this. पहले ये बताओ, have you seen the use of HOF before? No, Karan से पूछ रहा हूँ मैं, Karan. Because your doubt is very specific, that's why. Karan, HOF का use कभी देखा है? Before. Okay. Right. So tell me, have you seen something like this happening? Let an array equals to array dot reduce. Have you seen something like this happening? Is that why you're asking? Right? So yeah, the reason is again, someone else was asking previously कि sir arrowhead function use करके दिखाओ. ठीक है? तो these arrow functions are EA6. ठीक? तो जब EA6 आएगा तब पढ़ाऊंगा. Don't worry. For now we are talking about ES5. तो अभी के लिए हम फंक्शन लिखेंगे. ज्यादा बड़ा नहीं है यार, एक वर्ड है. It doesn't matter. ठीक है? Yes, जीवन करेक्ट. So accumulator clear है? Sir, can you dry run? Sure. So let's go for plus because the data is going quickly. And if I do a console.log accumulator, comma, current value, and if I do a node HOF of it, you will see it starts with 1 and 2 is the current value. Then 1 plus 2, 3. 3 is the current value. Then 3 plus 3, 6. 4 is the current value. Then 6 plus 4, 10. 5 is current value. Understood? Clear, Santosh? How accumulator and current value are getting updated? Okay. So guys, any doubt in reduce? I mean, the basics are there. All you have to do is you can go and change it and यहाँ पे you can go and work on it. That's pretty much it. ठीक है? So again, what is reduce returning? Reduce का return कर रहा है? Reduce is returning a single value. एक single value return कर रहा है. ठीक? Or you can say accumulator return कर रहा है. So accumulator is at final a single value. Accumulated value, right? अच्छा. अभी let me quickly show you कि ये use कब होता है. So you guys remember that JSON data we created. कहाँ गया वो? Let me get this. Right. So अभी के लिए it won't make much sense, but bear with me. Let's say कि you have your cart. आपके पास एक cart page है. Cart page समझते हो सब? We have the cart page in e-com websites. Cart page, right? So do we have a total there? एक total होता है in that cart page, whatever amount we have selected on all these elements. So ever wondered how they calculated those total? What they did was they created an array, right? They wrote JSON.reduce. In this, they have passed a function, and in function they have written accumulator, and they have written current value, and in there they have returned how can I access price? Price कैसे access करूंगा in current value? Current value dot price, right? Current value dot price. Or if I do accumulator here, accumulator is gonna take that last element, right? So in return statement, we are selecting current value dot price. We are selecting this thing, but accumulator is gonna select that entire element. So can we add an object with a price? No. So if I do console.log n array, let's see what happens. Clear node. Oops. It's higher order function, right? HOF. We are getting an error. Isko for now prevented, but we are getting a object, right? Not exactly something that we wanted, right? So how can I access the price in this accumulator? Everyone, can I do accumulator dot price? Right? Accumulator dot price कर सकता हूँ. So now if I do node HOF, again not a number. Acha, again might be a issue. देखो JSON data, what happens, no, we'll have to convert it into a number. You guys remember how can we convert string into number? This thing, याद है? This inbuilt function. Right? So, and let's pick this one also, and let's pick this and let's make it number. Okay. Now I guess it's gonna still give an error because okay, so let's do one thing. It's still picking the accumulator as this entire object. So let's do one thing. Let's give this accumulator an initial value. So let's start with 0. Okay. So now still getting not a number. Okay, wait a second. Current value dot price, that's fine, and we can now take accumulator. ठीक है, तो accumulator dot price कर रहे थे, 0 does not have, this should work. ठीक है, this should work. अच्छा, let me go back to the previous code and let's show you guys कि गलत क्या कर रहे थे हम लोग, right? तो we have इसके पहले भी. Now what we were doing is we were accessing the accumulator price and we were accessing the accumulator, right? Basically हम accumulator dot price कर रहे थे, but this thing is always gonna access the first element. तो वो पूरा का पूरा object access कर रहा था, right? Now once we have given it an initial value, यहाँ पे क्या गलत कर रहे थे हम लोग? We were accessing accumulator dot price. Is there any 0 dot price? No, right? So rather than doing all this stuff, everything was just in front of our eyes. All we had to do was add an initial value in accumulator, and then we can just access our current value dot price, and we can just keep on adding accumulator. Okay. So now if we do HOF, we can get final price. Clear है कि how we can do all those add to cart totals? ठीक है. So any doubt in any of the higher order functions that we have covered? I mean, just in basics, I know there is a lot of practice needed in higher order functions to master them, but at least the distinctions are clear, right? I should have covered the methods also here, method chaining, but I think I won't be able to do it for now. Chalo, we'll complete it in next lecture, but you guys will have to remind me. Okay, I think next lecture is in next week. Should I give a just brief? You guys have 5 minutes to give me. 5 minutes दे सकते हो. एक brief दे दो कि how method chaining works. ठीक है, चलो। So let's say हमारे पास एक array है, right? Let array equals to 1, 2, let me zoom it out and इसको let me quickly clear it. Sir, accumulator is the starting value and current values is the after value, right? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. Okay. Now let's say if I had a question that filter all the even numbers out and find the sum of those numbers, right? So what are we doing? We are basically combining two higher order functions. We have to filter and then to find the sum, which higher order function do we have to use? Reduce. We have to combine two higher order functions, right? So to combine to a higher order function, we have to opt for a way that is called method chaining. What method chaining does is, let's say I've created an array, right? Equals to array dot filter. Let's use filter, right? And in this, I'm writing function and element, right? And in here, I'm returning element divisible by 2 only. Okay, so am I gonna get just those elements which are divisible by 2 or basically the even elements? Right, so if I do a console.log of n array, I'm gonna go get that. Okay, now what am I getting in return from filter? I'm getting an array. I'm getting an array, right? This n array is technically something like this. It's looking technically something like this after this whole code ends running. Everyone, and what do you guys think if I go and do an array dot reduce and accumulate this all data? Should I be able to accumulate and finally print the sum of all these data? Right, so this is called method chaining. Once the higher order function is again returning an array, no, all you can do is you can write a dot and you can do the method chaining there only, right? So we know that it's gonna return an array, right? So I can directly write a reduce after filter and I can create a function, and in there I can write accumulator and element, and I can go on doing return accumulator plus element, right? And let's provide 0 as the starting point. Okay, now if I go and print, I'm getting 20. What happened? समझ आया? Getting it, guys? What happened here? Right? Let me reiterate it once again. Now, for now, we have a variable let n array equals to array dot filter. Right? This is gonna return us something like this. Itna clear hai? Everyone, just this part. Right? Now, let's say if I had something like this, a variable something like this, could I have easily written n array dot reduce on it? Right? So that's exactly what I did. Once this entire setup is ended, I have added the reduce there only. Okay? So we are basically chaining the methods. That's why it's called method chaining. Tick? Understood? Right? So method chaining is going to be only applicable when we are getting array in return, right? Method chaining is only gonna be applicable if we are gonna get array in return, right? So what do you guys think? Can we do method chaining on map? Map पे method chaining कर सकते हैं? Why? Because it's returning an array. But do you guys think we can do method chaining on for each? Guys, 1-0 anything, please. It's great that you guys haven't left the meeting yet, but please respond कर दो. ठीक, this is the last thing I promise you guys. Right? Why for each पे method chaining क्यों नहीं होगा? Because it's returning what is it returning? Undefined. Undefined return कर रहा है, right? So that's why it can only be applicable on map and filter and reduce. ठीक है? So do we have one more difference between map and for each? Map and for each. Map and for each के versus for each में पहला तो था रिटर्न स्टेटमेंट, राइट? तो रिटर्न एरे, इसको लेट मी राइट इट फार अप हियर, ठीक? रिटर्न एरे एंड फॉर ईच जो है वो रिटर्न करता था अनडिफाइंड, राइट? एंड देन मैप में आई कैन अप्लाई मेथड चेनिंग, right? Whereas in for each, can I apply it? Right? So can apply method chaining. ठीक, so this is all in all the difference between map and for each, and trust me, it's a very important question. ठीक, all right. Only reduce is only using, but please dry run step by step. Reduce, I mean, it's gonna pick the 2 and it's gonna use that 2 as accumulator, and then 2 plus 4, I mean, finally जो दिखाया था ना, it's gonna act something like this. So that sum is gonna act as accumulator and you can keep on adding everything in that sum. Boils down to that. ठीक है? And थोड़ा सा if you try it, you can do it. ठीक? All right. So any doubts till now? Santosh, I'll do it. Just I'll stop the recording and then we'll do it.